morning, everybody. So I've been thinking for a couple of weeks now about what I was going to say to everybody here and how I was going to feel, because I've never been in this situation before. And the more I thought about it, the absolute worse it got. I got in my own head, so I decided that I was going to go in completely blank. So forgive me if this isn't fluid. I just kind of want to share a few things about myself. First of all, you should know that I didn't really get saved until I was in my mid to late 40s. So looking back, I don't have the same kind of testimony that some people do, where they had these really cool church experiences and things like that. But the neat thing about that is that I can look back and see where God has been with me all along. You know, my parents, they're from Berlin. I was born in Berlin. And they each grew up pretty isolated and without church. They were born, in the 40s. And so their lives were a little uprooted. It was a difficult time. So they didn't really bring in the tradition of going to church for my brother and I. And thankfully, I've always known, even when I was little, that there was a God. But he scared me and he confused me because I didn't know anything about him. But I always knew that there was a God. And I had little opportunities, like little seeds were planted. Like my dad, he was a bus driver. He did ski trips for churches and things like that. And he came home one time on fire for the Lord. And I was probably 12 at the time, and it was really cool because he's like, from now on, we're going to church. And so we got to go to church, but it was kind of an unusual church. And it kind of left us more empty than full, because it was a broken church. But that was kind of my first experience with what it was like to go to church as a family. And, it led to greater things, but we weren't consistent, unfortunately. But, it gave me kind of a feeling of what church would be like, and I didn't really like it. So I had my son really early. I was 16, and so I became very domestic very early. I love that. That's my thing. And I led kind of a life of sin. I didn't walk as a saved person. And so looking back, I think I have a lot of regret that I didn't have that, because it could have been so much richer. I could have planted seeds where I didn't. And so I do have regret, but I feel like God was always with me. He made me aware of, family and the beautiful things of this life, but I didn't walk as a saved person. But then I met my husband when I was 47, and it just absolutely changed my life, because he let me know that I would be coming here. In fact, the first people that he introduced me to was the McHudsons. So we went over there for dinner, and they happened to have another couple there that was a pastor and his wife, and they were going to do Bible trivia. And I'm like, oh my God, I know nothing. I'm just going to eat and eat and eat. I was like, this is going to be terrible. And they just made me feel so welcome, and I started coming here, and, I kind of say all this, like, I'm listening to myself, and it doesn't sound like a very, happy, I had a wonderful childhood, don't get me wrong, my parents were great, I loved looking back, but when you look back and you didn't have God in your life, it steals from you, you know what I mean? You don't realize that until you're saved, because when you live a sinful life, you don't look back on things with the same joy that you would have if you'd been saved. It's different. So anyway, I say all this stuff to let you know that really my testimony began when I came here. You guys are my testimony. Midtown, the leadership, it changed my life. I can't even remember who I was before here. In fact, I don't want to remember because I probably could. And it's just such a joy to be part of a family like this because I've always been a solo person. I was never really outgoing. I was never in a huge friend group. I think being a mom at 16, it isolated me. I didn't have the college experience or the social stuff. I mean, I was a mom. I mean, I was a room mother before I was ever had a beer. You know what I mean? It was like I was making cupcakes for the kindergarten classroom. So it's kind of saved me from a lot of nonsense, I think. So, you know, but I was very solo until I came here. And this is the first place that I really developed strong friendships and bonds and vulnerability and truth, relationships that transcend, and I understood eternity and the love of Jesus. And that you could actually talk about being less than, small. Small was big here. You know what I mean? It was okay to be small, and unsure of myself and weak and flawed. Like, imagine that, you know, nowhere else can you get that. Nowhere. I'm so grateful to everyone here. And I'm grateful to my husband because I realize now that the key for a man is to find a strong woman. And he picked a weak woman. He picked a woman that was not going to be the helpmeet that a man should have. But he saw something in me, and he believed that I was leadable. And I thought he was perfect. Man, I thought, okay, I've got a Christian man. Oh boy. Well, let me tell you, no one is perfect, but that's what really drew me to him. And I confess to you that when I first came to Midtown, I did it to please Archester. And I wanted to be a really good fiance. And the thing is, I kind of fell in love with my husband and Jesus at the same time. And strangely, I realized that I needed to separate the two. Courtship with Jesus is very different than courtship with your husband. And you really think that if you marry a Christian that you'll never get hurt. And you don't realize that you'll get hurt much worse by your Christian spouse because you don't see it coming. And then the forgiveness is so much richer and more meaningful because you really understand it from a biblical perspective. And I am so grateful for my husband. He has shown me and taught me so much by being so loving and flawed, but so loving. And I will share this about him because he won't share it about himself. I've known him for 13 years now, and he's never once swore, raised his voice, nothing. Like, this is the man that I wake up to, like the same guy every day. And that was really hard for me because I'm German and I like to speak my mind. And he wouldn't fight with me, and I didn't think he loved me. Because he just refused. In fact, I think I said that to you. You don't care. But I just really want to say thank you to everyone here because I look at you guys and everyone here has touched me and so many people that aren't here today. I just can't imagine my life without you guys. It has changed everything, and the Lord is so good. I could talk an hour about everything God has done for me. And I'll tell you, and I'll close with this. My moment with God, the moment that I knew I was saved, I was alone in my bedroom. I don't know what day it was. I didn't mark it in that kind of a way. But I did not like myself. No matter what I did, no matter where I went, no matter what I accomplished, or who I cooked for or cleaned for, no matter how hard I tried, I did not like myself. I didn't want to live in me. And I realized it was because I wasn't saved. I could never be satisfied with myself unless I gave my life to Jesus. And I just let him know that I'm done with this. I don't even want to be me anymore. You need to change me. And he did. And that was the moment that my life turned around. That's my testimony. Just me and him in a room alone. Yeah, and that's my story. So, thank you.
Is it my turn? Oh, okay. All right. Man, I first want to say that I'm not the type of person that gets in front of a crowd and like to talk. Man, if y'all could see inside me right now. But Todd made us do it, so here we are. Man, God has blessed me with a beautiful wife, a soulmate, a helpmate, all that. But I just want to start out by sharing my testimony and how God led me to Midtown. I grew up in I would say it was a dysfunctional home, but it was full of love, and as I got older, I realized that my parents, they didn't have a blueprint on how to raise us. They did the best they could with who they were and what they had, and it was very dysfunctional. I grew up in the hood, and my mother was an alcoholic, and my father, he worked to support the family, and there was a lot of abuse going on, verbal and physical abuse going on. But like I say, they did the best they could. So as I got older, I chose to go to the streets. I always have believed in God, but I went to church with the families in the neighborhood every weekend. I was at a different church, getting baptized every weekend, not knowing what it meant. But you want to get baptized? Yeah, sure. But and I went to a Pentecostal church, with the neighbors across the street. They would be in church at 2:00 in the morning, and. But I was always close to God, and didn't realize that he was protecting me and keeping me safe because I was a knucklehead, and as I say, as I got older, when I turned 15, I chose to go to the streets. And I was in the streets, not bragging because I was foolish, but I was in the streets doing some things that I shouldn't have been done till I was 15, till I would say 22, and I got away with a lot of things that I shouldn't have. And about 1989, God had been trying to get my attention, but I was a hard-headed child. I didn't want to listen, and he would give me signs and let me know that he was trying to get my attention. But he knew what it was going to take to get my attention. So in 1989, he allowed me to be arrested and accused of a robbery, and that I actually didn't do at the time. I'm not proud of it, but I was selling drugs at the time, and but he allowed me to be accused and charged with a robbery. And I ended up having 2 trials at that time. In second trial, I was found guilty and was sentenced to 99 years in prison. And I told my family that I wasn't going to prison for something that I didn't do. So I went on the run. And I told them that I'd rather die than go to prison for something I didn't do. So when the FBI caught up with me, that was my plan, to end it then, 'cause I was probably around 23, somewhere around in there. But while I was on the run, God had a different plan for me. I didn't know it at the time. You know, God, he uh, he does things without your permission. You know, and and so when I was on the run, I had an auntie. She was a God fearing woman, and we had helped her move. Her and my cousins, you know, they helped her move, and we were playing Nintendo one night. I don't know how many of y'all remember what Nintendo was, but we were playing Nintendo, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd been on the run for about 6 months, and she had called me in the kitchen. My family called me Lil Chet, and she had called me in the kitchen and said she wanted to pray with me. And so, and not proud of this, but I'd smoked a lot of weed back then, and we had smoked some weed that night, and so she's like, I want to pray with you. And I said, okay. So I went in the kitchen and she prayed with me. And God said, I want you to turn yourself in. And like I said, we had smoked a lot of weed that night, so I'm thinking I was high, you know, because I had never heard from God before, you know. And then he said it again, I want you to turn yourself in. And I knew it was him. And so after we prayed the next day, I called my family and I said, I'm gonna turn myself in. And this was back in 92. Like I said, I always believed in God, but I had never surrendered to God, you know. And then I made a decision to surrender to God, because if I hadn't surrendered, I'd be dead right now, you know. And that's kind of how my journey started. And I brought some newspaper articles to kind of show God's faithfulness throughout all this, because he said he would deliver me, not knowing when. Could you hold this for a second? And I brought this to kind of help. Like I said, I was innocent. This is one where I surrendered to the FBI one morning when I turned myself in, and this just shows where they gave me 99 years, and I ended up doing 13 years out of that 99. But God is faithful, you know. And like I say, He don't. When you decide to follow God, He don't tell you all the details, you know, in the process. I just want you to, you know, walk by faith and follow me. So, but this is one of the articles, and this is another one where I surrendered. And this is my family, part of my family. Well, this my sister, and this was my girlfriend at the time, and this was me at the time without dread. So, but yeah. And I had my Bible in hand, so I was going in with my sword, you know, and ready to fight, not knowing what that looked like, you know. And through it all, God kept showing Himself faithful, but I hadn't completely surrendered. But because I still taken the streets with me in prison, and I was still dependent on money, and in 2003, God allowed my father to spend my attorney money, and then he said, "What you gonna do now?" You know, and I'm like, I don't have a choice, you know, but to trust in you, Lord, because I'm still dependent on money. And that's when I completely surrendered, you know. And He started showing Himself to me more and more. And Pastor Gene Pirtle, he's a prison minister. I don't know if any of y'all know him in here, but I was at the prison in Crossroads in Cameron, and he was coming up there, and he and I became real good friends. And he started ministering to me and teaching me more about God, and I started getting closer to God. And in 2006, God delivered me from prison. And in about 2009, Pastor Gene Pirtle he brought me here. He was like, "Oh, I got a church I want you to go to." And he brought me here. And that's when I first came to Midtown. And like my wife was saying, you know, you all are family to me. I learned how to be a God-fearing man and learn how to be a husband to my wife from the men here at Midtown. You know, my father, he was in my life, but he was not faithful. He did not teach. He taught me how to work hard, but he did not teach me how to love a woman because he was not faithful to my mother. But coming here and watching the leadership and being up under the leadership that I've been here has taught me how to be the man that God has made me to be today, you know, and I have a long way to go. But I want to continue to stay on that journey, you know, and continue to stay close to God because of what he's promised me and what he's doing in our life right now, you know. And before I close, I just want to encourage all the young couples here and all the ones that plan on getting married, you know. I was listening to a pastor, and he said it takes 30 minutes to get married, but it takes a lifetime to develop a marriage. And you know, and we both come from a rocky path, you know, not like the pastor and sis over here, you know, they was high school sweethearts, you know. So, but we, you know, coming from the background, you know, it took some work for us to come together and to be as one and be on one accord. So I just want to encourage y'all, you know, the first 3 years, it might be rough, you know, but hang in there, you know, because as long as we keep God first, you know, everything is possible. So, and I just want to thank you all for having us up here this morning to share our testimony and pray that God use it. So.
All right, so the first thing I want to know is, so you met each other later in life. Tell us how you met and who pursued who.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell.
Okay.
Okay. I was actually working for a realtor or a builder, and I had to go to a Home Depot. No, it was Lowe's, which was weird because he's not a Lowe's guy. He goes to Home Depot. Like, in fact, he knows everyone that has ever worked in a Home Depot. That's where he's at all the time. Well, anyway, so he happened to go to a Lowe's, and I'm walking in, and he's getting ready to leave. And we see each other in the aisle. I think we were the only two people in the store. That's what it felt like. And it was like, oh, you know. So I said hello, and he said hello. And then I looked behind me like I'm in high school. And he looked behind him, and our eyes met again. So I'm minding my own business in the lighting department. And all of a sudden, I hear somebody say, do you need any help with that? And so this is what he does. So he had a business card ready. So I'm just like, oh, can I touch your hair? So I think that was my first words to him. And he's like, yeah. And so I'm like, oh, this is nice. And so he leaves me with his business card. Yeah, and I still play with this. I mean, the hair, you know. Anyway, but to let you kind of know where I was at, I had just come out of a very bad relationship.
Me too.
Yeah, very, very bad, which is weird. You wouldn't think that would happen to me at that point in my life. But I'm a trusting person, and not everybody is trustworthy, especially when you're not looking for a saved person. You can really get taken advantage of. And I did not call him. I had this business card in my car for about 6 months, and then I called him. You know, and I'm so glad that I didn't just go right into it. And then we ended up just talking on the phone for about 6 months. We didn't even just see each other. And then I found out he was a Christian. I'm just like, oh man, it's gonna be boring. I mean, that's really what I thought. It was like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? I didn't want to guard myself. I didn't want to, I don't know, I just had just this wrong perspective of it. But yeah, it was really cool. I mean, he prayed for me a lot on the phone, when I was going through my stuff. He was a good friend, a good phone friend before we ever took it any further.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Actually, he did go all the way back out to his truck and came back for me.
Yeah. I was, we were doing a job right off Berry Road up there, because I remodel houses for a living. And at this time, we were doing some commercial work right off Berry Road, and I needed some tools, so I went to Lowe's to get the tools, because it was a little closer than Home Depot. And then I saw her, and like she said, I took my tools out to the truck and grabbed my card and came back in and found her. So, man, God's timing is amazing, and he, after 40 years, he had developed me a wife from Germany. So, man, praise God. Yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit more about how did you get from Germany to Kansas City, Missouri? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
My parents, my dad has 4 sisters. My mom was an only child. And his older sister married someone from the military who lived in Eudora, Kansas. And my dad's father was not in the picture. He was killed in the war. And so it was just his mom, him, and, his sisters. And one by one, they all came over here. Back then, you could sponsor family members. And her husband, basically his family owned Eudora. They were very wealthy, so it wasn't a problem, thankfully. And so that's what brought us over here. Yeah. So I was 6 when we stayed permanently. Mm-hmm.
I've got a few more questions, but I want to give anybody else an opportunity. Yeah?
Can you talk a little bit about the prison ministry and how that played out for you? Mm-hmm. Did you get saved in prison and then go out?
No, actually, I was saved. I was actually saved at a younger age, but I hadn't surrendered. I didn't really fully understand what being saved meant. Yeah, I hadn't surrendered. And when I went to prison, during that experience, that's when I started developing a closer relationship with God. And that's when I started surrendering and knew what surrendering mean. And he started really revealing himself to me. The prison ministry is awesome. We have some family here that does it, and praise God for prison ministry, because being in prison, you have a lot of time on your hands. So a lot of people say, oh, you wait till you go to jail to get saved. That's a good time to get saved. So, yeah.
Was your experience as a Christian in prison, was it difficult to, how was it to maintain your testimony in prison amongst, I would assume, the criminals, the people that live at the hard
Well, being from the street and my case was so publicized, I had it was quite a few guys that was waiting on me in prison. And like I say, I didn't fully surrender. I was learning how to surrender, so I still had a lot of street in me. Although I was going to church there and doing things and studying and reading my Bible, but it took God a few years to kind of deliver me from some things and completely turn my life around. But not bragging, but people respected me, from the streets, and once they realized that I had changed my life and was making sure, they respected me even more. So. Yeah, so it was by the grace of God, because I was fortunate, although I was still selling drugs. When I first went to prison, I was still selling drugs in prison and using drugs. So, and by the grace of God, I never had one fight, no nothing in prison. So, yeah. So, yeah, never went to the hole, none of that. So it was by God's grace. So.
Who discipled you guys, and who would you say is invested into you?
Oh, gosh.
You want to shoot it?
Yeah, we were discipled by the Morgans. And wow, let me just tell you, what, that was rich. And I kind of wish, I don't know if any of you went through this, I kind of wish I could have done it when I was more knowledgeable about what I really had in that. Like I think about now how I would have picked their brain and asked the questions. It was pretty early on in my walk. In fact, I remember, like, it's weird because it matured me, but I wish I'd been more mature to really get the most out of it. But the Morgans, hospitable, man, and their kids, I remember when they were little. So we got to have a lot of that time with them. It was a real blessing. And I have to tell you, I have not been inspired by just one person or change. It is seriously every woman here. This place is just, it's a diamond mine when it comes to godly women. You know what I mean? It's incredible. It's incredible. I am so blessed. I love coming to church. This is my family. This is my social group. Outside of this, if it's not a blood relative, I don't know anybody. Like, this is my group right here. And I want for nothing. In fact, I haven't even tapped into all the possibilities. There's so many of you ladies that I don't even know as much about as I'd like to. So, yeah, blessings.
Anybody else? Yeah. All right. Two more.
Second one.
Or another one.
So for like your background, if you could like take yourself back to your like 20s and you were still in the streets, like what, from the church's perspective, like what would it take? Like how should we approach kids that are like teens or 20s that are out there running the streets? What can the church do to reach out to them?
Yeah, because that's what, in prison, that's what God showed me what my calling was, to work with the youth, and that's what I do. I would approach any kid in Home Depot or on the street, on the block, and just love them, just love on them hard, man, because a lot of them, that's what they need, and they don't have any good men in their life, any good godly men in their life, a lot of them come from broken homes, and they just need good love and good leadership, and that's, so whenever God bring one in your life, man, just love them, and they can feel that, and they'll know that. So, yeah, just show the love of God, to them, because, man, they thirsty. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We're going to do a little rapid fire. You got
Okay.
10 seconds to answer.
Okay.
Ready? All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. I drank it all. There's none for him.
You get a date night. Where do you go to eat?
Go ahead.
It's a Mexican place called La Fuente's. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you ordering?
Oh, I get their chicken tacos every time.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can get them deep fried, don't go with the chicken, go with the beef, because the chicken gets a little hard, but, oh, yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. And I normally get a number 13. It's a yeah, it's a burrito, taco, and rice and beans. Yeah.
Good there.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's Marina 88, too. It's by Lake Lotawana.
Marina
Has anybody been there?
Marina
Is
27.
it 27, 88?
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's
27? Is it 27? Yeah, that's it.
It's right there on the dock. You
And
can
the
eat.
atmosphere is amazing. So,
Oh, yeah. That's another great day night place.
Yeah.
What TV series are you guys into right now? If any.
Well, we just finished 24. We're old school. We're old school. In fact, let me tell you, we were sitting with the grandkids yesterday because our son and daughter-in-law are gone. So we wanted to watch cartoons, and so we found the Flintstones on YouTube. And my granddaughter looks over and she's like, "Oh, I know these people. They're on their Fruity Pebbles box." Like they had no idea who the Flintstones were. So we're very old school. Yeah.
Yeah. Solid. All right, if you could spend a day with any Bible character not named Jesus, who would it be?
Mine's probably would be Joseph, because I kind of correlate my experience with his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say Mary. If I can't spend time with Jesus, I'd love to, from mother to mother. I mean, I think it'd be a painful conversation to hear all her stuff that she went through. But I would love to spend time with Mary.
All right, last one. Favorite book of the Bible?
I like Proverbs.
Proverbs?
I find a lot of the things that I'm like, ooh, I got to remember that, ends up coming from Proverbs.
Yeah.
And I would probably say Job.
Yeah.
Yeah, Job. Because I completely try to live my life by walking by faith, and it's not for the faint at heart at times, because, when you trust in God for some things, yeah.
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 All right, how can we be praying for you?
You know, we have been through some trials, like not with each other, but just in general. It's like, so what some people would say, man, this is some bad luck. It's just like setbacks, with transportation, like just things that get in the way of your spirit that, are just like that gnat or, that cloud. But God always shows up in all of that. It's amazing because that's when you see him, when you really need him. And he's had us in a place of desperation, which we really appreciate it. So for me, it'd be strength. Pray for strength. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like she say, perseverance and patience. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, let's give the Borders a hand.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, guys. To be fair, I didn't make them do this. Strongly persuaded, maybe. I think as you guys were speaking, a lot of takeaways, but one thing I was thinking specifically was you probably have a lot of reasons to why you could be bitter people. Like you could be with life setbacks and the difficulties and from where you've been and what you've gone through. Like you could be just full of anger, full of bitterness. You could be mad at the Lord, mad at the world, mad at the system. You could be mad at everything. But what we're hearing from you is you've surrendered all of that to the Lord and you're allowing him to get glory from it and to use it. And so praise the Lord. Like what a beautiful testimony. Really appreciate you guys sharing. And when I ask people to come up here, it's so that we can all get to know them, and some of it's selfish, so I can get to know them. Like I didn't know some of these things, and honestly, it's a little bit dangerous to put people on stage or to talk about some of these things. But what it does is it allows us to get to know each other. It allows us to relate to each other. it allows us to find some common ground. There's a quote that I like that says that, this was a psychologist guy, he says that which is most personal is most universal. So the very personal things, like the things that we think, that's so personal and it's closest to me and I need to keep it in here, there's something in that is actually universal to like, the human experience, to being a person. And we got an opportunity to hear some of that today. So again, thank you guys. So what we're going to do, we've got about 10 minutes. We're going to spend a few minutes. I'd like you to get with the people you came with or with someone next to you. Just lift up the Borders and their family and perseverance and strength and these things that they talked about. The second thing is I'm going to be out of town next week. So Pastor Chris Best is going to be leading Life Fellowship. So just really looking forward to that. Uh-oh. Question? Yeah, let's hear it.
Thank you all for prayers.
Yeah.
Been flowing on recuperating with all nights. And sure the Lord's class.
Yeah, praise the Lord. Yeah, Tony's doing better. You got to hear the story about how he fought off this 300-pound dog. It's pretty. It's
Every time you tell a story,
yeah. He's 350-pound wild cougar. Like it was bad. You should see the other guy. Like yeah. So let's yeah. But thank you, Tony, for sharing that. I'm making light of it, but that was a big deal. That was a 100-pound dog that got a hold of his hand, and Tony's not a young man, and God protected him. Yeah, so praise the Lord. So, all right, go ahead and just in your groups pray, and then we'll be dismissed from where you're sitting. Thanks.